of all, let's put this up. Okay, I have to put this out there. This is our Fair Use Act, because I'm going to show you some things that, well, just need it. That's about it. No Barge Day today. I will show you this also. This was our afternoon clouds. Our afternoon clouds. Let's go see if we're live on YouTube. Let's see. It looks like we are.
We'll see if we're live.
We're live, and we got volume over at Pine Grove News Live. It's PGN Live at YouTube. Go look there, because there's actually two parts of a 8-hour video that I'm going to play. But first, before I get way ahead of myself here. Some things that are not going to be in the news tonight. Well, let me show you one more picture, okay, of our chemtrailed, frequency microwaved, I guess, clouds. And here's another one. You can see the difference of the blue skies we've had for quite a few days. And then our chemtrail and microwaved or frequency, I don't know, jacked up or messed up clouds. That's what we get now. Covering that sun. That's the big point right here. It's covering the sun. For some reason, during this time of the day, usually 2-3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They did this a lot in the beginning of the summer. They chemtrailed over the afternoon sun. Obviously, something was there that they were covering up. I don't know if this has anything to do with, I guess, Blue Kool-Aid says that he and, I forget who it was, Scott, Steve, something like that, figured out a 11 or it's a 28-day cycle, I think, of whatever is, behind the sun that shows itself on either the east rim of the sun, a little below the equator, and to the west of the rim of the sun, below the equator. You can see that in the all those images where you can go to look at the sun in different angstroms and so forth and so on. But that's our skies today. Actually, it didn't happen until the afternoon, like I said. It was all crystal clear, blue skies, and that's what they did to it. And there's other articles out there. California's being, I don't know, chem sprayed like they normally are. Also, so I'll mention this one thing. The biggest thing that happened over the weekend, and I hope you were prepared because I did give everyone a link for that. So I hope that you got it. And that was that Jan Markell prophecy conference. I believe it was the 21st, so I think it was Saturday. Yeah, because today's the 23rd. So anyway. I got the whole thing. Yeah, I got the link for you if you want it. It's I think it's like 8.5 hours, 8.4, something like that. I listened to 4.5 hours of it already. And just before they got to some particular woman who's, I guess, been a spokesman for the U.S. at the UN and done a few other things, forget her name. But she goes on to talk about what's happening in our schools, across our country. So on those lines, first of all, apparently Netanyahu lost. He's no longer the prime minister. I guess he was short of 5 or 6 government officials. I don't know exactly how it works. He's got to come in with his own government. It's just strange to me. I've never heard anything like it. So, but I don't normally follow politics, and the only reason, is because of the crap that's going on in our country. The constant, term full of impeached term for Mr. Trump. Whatever. I mean, nobody's that squeaky clean. Nobody. So eventually they'll find something, but it'll be too late. His term will be over and they'll be ousted. I'm even thinking about going to the polls for the first time ever just to vote Republican. I probably won't do it, but I really would like to. I'd vote independent. Like to go in there, register my vote, and vote independent. Well, Jack Hibbs says there's nothing wrong with voting. He actually encourages people to vote, but vote for the ones or one that is more morally grounded. But that's why I couldn't vote for anybody. None of them are morally grounded. He says closer to it. I don't know if there's anybody even closer to it. Trump seems to be. He at least portrays that, but in any case. All right, so Jan Markell prophecy, Netanyahu loses. My one big question, about the Saudi oil attack and all that. Supposedly 50% of their production was cut and all the freaking oil prices went sky high even before, just as they're basically, got the first headline out there. I've heard some live video of, these things blowing up in the background and a lot of gunfire. Why doesn't anybody mention a gunfire? Who were they shooting at and who was shooting? And my other thought about all this is that, well, let's just go over here and give you something else to look at. My thought about that is if Saudi Arabia, and I guess I got 20%. I thought it was more than that, but Saudi Arabia is only 20% of the world oil. Even so, still a good amount, I guess. Even though now we're the leading exporters by about 4 million barrels a day or something like that. And apparently that's settled down back to $60 a barrel because the United States come to the rescue, da 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 da. Here I am to save the day. You know how all that goes? Underdog? Well, we're not the underdog, but saving the underdog is more like it. But in any case, why didn't they have defenses? Why didn't they have some kind of missile dome? Why didn't they have anti-aircraft guns? These people are at war with Yemen. And who knows else? Who else? Secretly. You're not going to protect your blood, your basic, survival line, I don't know what you call it, your lifeline. You're not going to protect that. I mean, look what we did in Pearl Harbor. We put all our ships in one port, except for the carriers, and we paid a price for that. Obama tried to do it with our aircraft carriers, putting them all in one port at one time to be retrofitted. Anybody notice that one? I know some did. We talked about it, and then that was it. That was probably treason number 4 of the treasonous acts that he's created. In any case, 20. Why were they allowed? An enemy, and it was supposedly today. I guess now it's 18 or 19 missiles, including drones. Did not know that Iran had these specialty missiles that I thought only America had. That's those low flying ones that just, they don't go up over mountains. They just hit them. But I mean, to take that serious of a hit, I mean, I would have protected it. I thought it was protected. So if it wasn't protected, why wasn't it? And if it was protected, then somebody forgot to turn the button on. Just something to think about. In any case, America has gone to the rescue again, and stock market is A-OK. Cost of oil is back down, even though some people have already raised gas prices and they're not lowering them. So, you know, they got an excuse to raise the prices and they didn't back down. I mean, the price for the oil went down. Why cannot the gas go down? It should go down. We're the number one, exporters in the world. We got the most oil. Why don't we have the cheapest gas? Well, you all know that reason too, don't we? All about the money. Hey, Jody, God bless, sister. So you probably heard all that already. Have you seen or listened to the Jan Markell prophecy conference yet? Probably did all day, didn't you? I got, my alarm went off to it, but I was somewhere else. So I listened to 4 hours of it today, like I said. I am going to show 2 clips from that. One of them is a movie that they're producing. Yeah, it was the Jan Markell. You didn't hear about that? Jan Markell prophecy conference that happened on Saturday, the 21st. With Jack Hibbs and Omar, what's his name? Amir, and a couple other speakers. Yeah, I'll send you the link in the email. I'll also include it in this video, like I normally do with links. But so I guess before some of this stuff I actually wanted to show you afterwards. So a lot of these things that are spoken of in this prophecy conference is obviously things that are happening, in the world, and especially with this stuff in, Israel and Iran, this Gog MayGog, Ezekiel, I guess it's what, 38, 28, coming to fruition. Okay. Well, I'm going to play it here anyways for everyone else. Yeah, my whole other 50 members who come and listen. And so just a lot of things, like I know we say it all the time, at least, try not to be redundant about it to the point where you don't want to hear it anymore. But the Gog MayGog thing, the Ezekiel 38, this war, and we've already left Israel. Okay, supposedly we're not in Syria anymore. Trump supposedly said he's out. He moved out of Syria. Israel stands alone over there, trying to protect their interests and their livelihood, their nation. Iran is all over the place now, and that's what Israel is literally fighting every day. In any case, I'm going to show you this one scene that we're on. And this is a map, okay? And it's from All News Pipeline. So you can go over there, type in allnewspipeline.com, or wait for the link, or go to the live YouTube channel. Just an article here that says, with Iran threatening America, they will become the main battleground. Should we attack them and Russia and China, joining Iran in new military drills? This map right here shows we don't want to be when World War III, or where we don't want to be. If you don't think that if Iran really puts out that order, I know some other, bigwigs over there have already put out an order, at least over there, with our interest in, the Middle East. But if you don't think that these people have sleeper cells in our country, then you're very much asleep. They've had them here for years, decades. And they've got more in at the last minute while the border remains open. While Obama just dropped the border completely for 8 years. Forget the exact amount, but it was in the, tens of thousands each day. And they're all over our country. You got to remember a lot of these stories. I mean, you got to remember all the LP tanks that were stolen from the Home Depot, all those unregistered cell phones that were stolen from, I guess, a Walmart. You know, all these things, those two things, and there's a couple other items in the list. They could actually make missiles out of these LP tanks. They can weld fins on them with a guidance system with the phone and trigger it, or they can launch it like a mortar, if you know what a mortar is. You know, it's like a three-pronged leg with a tube, and they put like a grenade inside of it, and it shoots off. You know, not very accurate, but all in all, still deadly. All those things are not accounted for. They have never been accounted for. Yeah, and that's the damage that they could cause to this country, and the fear and total chaos, as if it isn't already. I mean, I have no whims about it whatsoever. I know that they're here, and all we could do, what can we do? Pray. That's it. We can pray. Anyways, praying. For me, it's Psalms 91. I know others have other psalms, and they're just as good. That I'm going to be protected through all this, that there will be people dying left and right at me, but you won't be hurt. There's another plan for you. Talking about that a lot lately too, the rapture and the tribulation, and, who's right and who's, not so right. And I don't think that it matters. I do think, in my opinion, after listening to all this for past 6-8 months, of course there's going to be a rapture. When it happens is still up for debate, obviously. It all depends on, what you consider tribulation. Go look up the definition. We're all living through tribulation. But I think you should also understand the definition of tribulation and great tribulation. Days of sorrow that the Bible talks about. I believe it's in Matthew 24. And you got Jacob's troubles, which I think is the same thing as the sorrows, but obviously I could be wrong. You need to check that for yourself. Yeah, the Lord has, and you'll hear that a lot in this prophecy conference. They talk about the hope. Now, there is a lot of hope. Yeah, it's all working up and culminating into his coming. It's going to be dramatic, okay? And we will not be here for that. We will be coming with him. We will be gone before that. And that just goes to show you how very close we are. I mean, we were talking about the Gog MayGog thing, right? U.S. pulls out of Syria. So now you got Russia, Turkey, Turkey's trying to, but, and then Iran, and they're basically, Israel's still surrounded. What else we got with that? Well, let's talk about, other things that are supposed to be seen in these days. And I want to talk about days of Lot, maybe the days of Noah, what was going on then. All right, let's look at, let's just look at this. This is headline news, okay? This is from Now the End Begins. This is, the morals in our country right now, where we're going. Days of Lot. This is from Now the End Begins. This is the title, Days of Lot. 6 states, okay? And I wasn't going to put this out, but it makes a lot of sense today. 6 states now allow women to appear topless in public, with more to follow as Americans' morals continue to evaporate in the rising spiritual darkness. And yeah, believe the Bible, man. We are in a spiritual war. Physically, we're going through life the best way we can. And yeah, what the flesh is it's very vulnerable. Anyway, it's a spiritual war against, against the prince of the air, the powers that be, powers and principalities, all that stuff. That's who we're at war with, and they're spiritual. Anyway, so that's just one thing. And then you got this article down here on the same page. Okay, it's got this headline. Pedophiles are now calling themselves minor attracted persons. They want to be called minor attracted persons, and they want to get included in this LGBTQ movement. And I'm telling you, folks, the way things are going, that is not far off either. It's not. And we will be there. That's just another step. I don't know of too many steps that are left, except us being, raptured. I think some of us, I don't know, I'm still, talking to the Lord about it and asking for the Holy Spirit for knowledge and wisdom on it to figure out, if people are actually going to stay. Because some, according to, what was it? Is it 1 Thessalonians 4 or something? That's where they talk about being caught up. And, there will still be people alive after the first resurrection, blah, 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 blah. And I think that is actually a time frame, that there are going to be people, Christians, that are going to go through some big tribulation. I think maybe most of us will be gone already before that. Some people think that there's actually 2 raptures, and just let it go at that. Still, getting answers from that. Maybe. You know what? Maybe. But in my opinion, that's great. I believe that we're going to have a rapture. I believe that we are not. We are not to go through the wrath of God. That is a downright, absolute, positive promise. God cannot lie. You are going to be raptured if, you're his children. Got to have belief in God in order to be raptured, don't you? I would think. Got to believe in it. How can you, get somewhere without believing in it? And that's just, doesn't make any sense. But in any case, we're not entitled to that because the last day, and I know there's great tribulation before that. There may be 7 years of great tribulation. And that's the other thing that I have a problem with, the way people saying, how many, years this is going, who's going to do it. Some people believe that, it's just going to be Israel. It's just going to be Israelites, Jews. No, it's not. It's not just going to be them. We've been grafted in. Jesus Christ, when he came here, besides all the other wonderful things he did, and we'll talk about the very first miracle of changing the water to wine and what that meant about the wedding that I have now got clear in my head. It's just, losing track. Any case, we are not appointed to his wrath. The wrath is, in my opinion, and it's stated a couple times in the Bible, it's the last day. It's one day. The Great Tribulation may be 7, years, or some people 3.5 years, or whatever. Some people may go through 3.5 years of Great Tribulation and then being raptured out too. Who cares? You're not going to be accounted to his wrath, which is the total reconstructing, melting down, purely wiping clean the whole earth and everything on it. That day of his wrath is a day of fire. He's going to come with a fervent heat from just the glory of him, the intense heat, just going to melt everything. Going to start everything new. We're so close. I mean, how much of this stuff are we going to take before we are actually Great Tribulation? I mean, Iran issues battlefield warning as U.S. deployed troops. Trump sent more troops to Saudi Arabia. And you got, other things going on. Now people are finally realizing, after they've all been poisoned, this from the end time headlines, more than 100,000 cancer cases could be caused by contaminants in this tap water. Of course it is. We've been saying it for a couple of years now, and I know other people have been saying it for longer than that. There is a cheap way to filter your water. Anytime you want to know that, you comment. Send an email. Cheap way. If we have that time. And they're implementing this, man. We're hearing about the 5G. People in Switzerland now protesting this 5G wireless over their health fears. Yeah, it's at least that word's getting out. It's in the UK. It's killing people. It's killed people already. We've covered those stories. Mystery towers going up all over the Cincinnati area. Okay, it's coming to America. Yes, it is. You're not exempt. You're grafted in. You're part of the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know why we keep separating ourselves from each other when Christians, you should know that we're all Christians. We're all part of one body. Didn't you ever hear the saying? You got to be of one mind. I mean, that's what it is. One mind, one body. That's who the Father and Son and the Holy Spirit are. They're one. Three separate entities acting as one. In sync, in tune, of the same mind. Yeah, and I may be, slightly off with that because that still yet to be totally 100% revealed to me. I don't know why. Things will be told to you when it's your time to be told. Whatever you're looking for. Don't give up though. You got to keep persistent, keep after it, keep asking those questions, keep seeking the answers. And if you seek him above all things, you will find him. You will find them. And when you find them, man, I just I can only imagine, like this song, you can only imagine the whole world being of one mind, all loving, caring, everyone lifting each other up, looking out for each other. I don't know, something that we'll see in the millennia, some of us. Some people asked the other day some question, well, they always ask, whether their pets are going to go to heaven, but we'll see. Nobody knows. Maybe somebody has some scriptures on it, but I've never found any. And I don't know if I've ever found this either, but I think that all those babies, and I'm not necessarily talking about the 6 million that were aborted, but maybe it's true for them as well. I've heard that, babies and children whose lives have been cut short by this very dark reality that we're living in, that during the millennia, they'll be able to come back and live out their lives. What an awesome thing that would be. To know that these children will get to live out their lives. Maybe it'll be a choice. I don't know. Maybe it won't be a choice. Maybe it'll just be put there. Because everything will be different. I mean, we're talking about a millennia where the saints come back. I mean, it talks about it, New Jerusalem coming down out of the heaven in this city. Nobody's going to know of daytime or nighttime. You'll have no more recollection of that. There will be no more need for any sun in the sky or moon. There'll be this brightness. We're going to call it a brightness. We'll call it a light that we all talk about when we're all following the Lord. That we are hopefully light and a beacon to others, but there's light. I'm talking, we'll talk about this some other time. I want to talk about the story of Adam and Eve and who they exactly were. I mean, God created them. Okay, they were not born like most of us. I'm saying most because I'm sure there are demons out there who've incubated somewhere or another here and there, or some type of cloning and entered those bodies. You know, it's gotta be, because there's some really crazy stuff going on out there, bodies. And anyway, you know, I do believe it. I've been going through Genesis again. I don't know why I always end up in Genesis, man, but it's a great book. I mean, anytime you go to any book that I read over and over again, you just get more and more. That's all it is. That's all there is to it. You know, so let's see, how are we going to do this? Now let's forget about the terrible things for a second that are going on in the Bahamas still 1,300 missing. And let's just forget about the fires that are going on in the Amazon and South America, and actually all over the world. And somebody, you know, refuting the 20% of the world's oxygen from Amazon is not true, so they say. So this is a rebuttal, if you care to look at it. And, you know, just so happens that this hurricane, what's its name? Actually, it's still a tropical cyclone right now, Hikai, Hikaa, heading right up there into the Oman area. Where is Yemen or Saudi Arabia and all this? They've got to be in somewhere in that area. Kind of coincidental that that's ending up there. I've seen it once before. In any case, I mean, that's where we are, people. Things are totally messed up. And if you are looking for hope, if you don't have any more hope, you have one more place to go. You know, and don't tell me you went there already and tried, because you didn't. Your heart wasn't in it. I mean, if this is your last line of common sense and spiritual, survival. I mean, the life essence. Why would you throw that away? If you knew how special that was, you know, that God made each and every one of us separate in the womb. Okay, he knitted us in the womb. We were given our spirit, and that spirit was put in the womb with their spiritual body, and everyone is different. Why would you want to hurt that unique speciality? Believe me, I've been there 3 times. I've been on the verge of giving it all up. And thank God for, you know, some influences here and some influences there. I just gave it one more try. All I did. Broke down. I asked the Lord for answers. And people, when you ask for answers, please wait for a reply. He will reply. You know, the only time he won't reply is if you don't ask. He says you don't get things because you don't ask for them. You have to ask for them. You have to believe that he's going to provide the things that you need, not the things that you want, not a brand new car to show off, to be, prideful, boastful. No, that's not God. That's not godlike. And you don't need it. You can go get a $500 junker and get yourself back and forth, from A to B. I mean, that's, you need a necessity of a car. Why are you going to turn on a perfectly good, used, run down car? Anyway, I'm just saying, the one good thing about that prophecy conference was the fact that they made sure that with all that's going on, there is still hope. I know people are, even myself from time to time, I let this stuff weigh heavy on me. That and all the people, the way they suffer. Yeah. Could be very disheartened, and take you down. But prayer and definitely. I mean, some people try this on their own. Believe me, I tried it on my own. Can't do it on my own. No, you need brothers and sisters, need brethren that you can talk to, or just go listen to. Know that they're, most of them, for the most part, are, like-minded. All I can say is the one thing in common is that they believe in God. The other things are just useless things that people fight over, and it shouldn't happen that way. And as you grow more and more, and you get closer and closer in a relationship with Jesus, these things take care of themselves. These things, God will, instruct you in the right paths and correct you if you're going the wrong way. And so, we accept that. We're here to be refined. We're here to be to learn to live a life. If you didn't have anything else and you just had the Bible in order to know how to live, it's all in there. All the things that you need to do things the right way, and doing things the right way, right things happen. That's all I can say about that. You do it your way, the wrong way, and it's just going to go backwards. But all I'm saying is you got hope. Jesus Christ is hope. He is the hope. He's the hope. He's the bridegroom. He gives to the bride the wine to signify, well, we didn't know it then, but I do know it now, that it was actually his blood, that he's given. That was the covenant that he was talking about, that he would have later on in his ministry, that he would have to go and pay a price for, willingly. But anyway, I promised to play some of these things, so I'm going to play this, and this is how I understood, and how I, made this marriage thing, the ritual, the things that the Jews did back then. It was very important to see, even for people who don't know the bride and groom. These Jews did it in a certain area of a certain town where there was, people coming back and forth, and people stopped and basically were witnesses in this marriage. But I'm going to let the movie play, because I will never do it enough justice. It's probably 10 minutes total, and this is just actually a preview. They're not done with the movie yet. They're pre-ordering for it. I don't know how much it is. I didn't go there. But they've got to finish it up yet. They're probably talking November. But we get to see, what they call that. A preview. So I'll let it go.
God bless you all.
As Galileans, we witnessed his first miracle. He warned us that a time of great deception would come. But we must hold on to our faith that one day he would return to save us from the end of the world.
Most people don't believe that Jesus is coming back. What if there was evidence that proves that this is all real?
Because there were so many people bringing up little bits and pieces of this. I'm thinking, there's got to be a pattern here.
The Bible talks about it as being a mystery, but why does the rapture have to happen? What's the point to it all? A Galilean would have understood that perfectly.
They are the key to everything. I'm just so stunned. I never thought I would see this in my lifetime.
This is the most profound discovery in human history.
From his promise made through wine at the Last Supper, to why the world cannot know the day of his return, we were chosen to preserve the truth until the end of days. So even if we are not spared from death, others can unveil what we knew and believe.
This discovery proves that he is coming back.
Now that's just a preview to the preview. I don't know, people. It's not the end.
Welcome to the town of Cana. Israel's now under Roman control, ruled by Tiberius Caesar, and under his cruel authority, life is harsh for many of the Jews. But on this day, there's hope for the future. A promise for a new beginning. Because on this day, the betrothal between a young groom and his bride is taking place.
I don't think it's possible to overstate how important a wedding is in the Middle Eastern culture today, as it was in that day, the first century. A wedding was the most important event that would take place in any town for anyone.
In fact, as word spread throughout the streets that a betrothal was taking place, everyone who was able would rush to the main gate to witness it.
Everything took place at the gate, and this was really, really important because this is where you found the elders. The elders ratified legal agreements, and if you held the ceremonies near the gate, you would have layers of people that would gather around who are maybe not family members, maybe not friends. So you see, having wedding guests the way we have them today wasn't important to them. They wanted witnesses because you can't make a covenant without having witnesses to ratify the covenant.
There is a written proposal that is presented. It is a written covenant of marriage that the bride accepts.
They would be asked, do you agree on these terms? They would say, we do, which means that they can't go back on it. They can't say, I didn't know that was in there, or those terms were disagreeable to me.
After the agreement outlining the union between the two families was publicly read, gifts were then exchanged, with the most extravagant going to the bride. In fact, contrary to popular belief, a dowry, or the price that was paid to the bride's father in Galilee, was not a purchase of the bride as property as it was with surrounding cultures in the Middle East, but rather an insurance policy that would help take care of her if anything were to happen to her beloved. But what comes next will set in motion a sequence of events that will shape the future for generations to come.
Then it focuses down onto the moment where everyone holds their breath. What happens is the bridegroom is then handed a pitcher of wine.
The groom then pours wine into a ceremonial cup that will be offered to his desired bride-to-be.
And it was called the cup of joy. With both hands, reverently and respectfully and fearfully, he would pass it to his bride.
When the groom presents the cup, she now has the choice as to whether or not she will accept or reject this proposal for marriage.
The moment the cup is handed to the bride, she's given all power to stop the wedding by pushing the cup back and rejecting the bridegroom.
Contrary to all other wedding customs in the Middle East, the bride in the Galilean wedding possessed the final authority. She alone had the power to accept or reject the offer from the groom. The betrothal could not be completed without her willing acceptance to drink from the cup of wine. But on this day, during this betrothal, the bride accepts. The groom will then also take and drink from the cup, solidifying the new covenant. But then he says something truly profound.
And then the bridegroom says publicly, so everyone can hear, you are now consecrated to me by the laws of Moses, and I will not drink of this cup again until I drink it anew with you in my Father's house.
But to understand why this phrase is so profound, we must look at another act recorded later in the scriptures. During the Last Supper, Jesus offered a cup of wine to his disciples to signify a new covenant with them. And after his disciples drank from the cup, Jesus then said something similar to what a Galilean would have heard from their own weddings. He said,
"But I say to you, I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom."
This is exactly why when he gave them the cup, he actually says, this is the new covenant in my blood. I'm about to pour my blood. It's a promise. We're going to be together again, and we're going to mark it by drinking the wine. It's something important.
the breaking of bread and offering of wine, these acts were to form a new union, a new promise meant to deliberately set in motion events of unimaginable importance.
In my Arab culture, you eat from the same bread and you drink from the same cup. The thought is that that which is in you is in me. It is a common union, communion, no longer two, but one. When Jesus says that at that Last Supper, this is my body given for you, broken for you. He is talking as a bridegroom to his bride. When he says to them, this is the cup of my blood in the new covenant, that's how they would seal the betrothal in the ancient wedding.
Well, when you think about the Galilean disciples, they understood exactly what it was saying regarding these things. They were familiar things.
The illustration was entirely clear to them. When Jesus said that, his Galilean disciples at the Last Supper heard only one thing: wedding.
In fact, this might explain why later in the gospel records, the disciples asked Jesus only when the events of the last days would take place, and not why. Because as Galileans, they likely had already made the connection, especially given Jesus' first recorded miracle, which took place in the town of Cana, when he turned water into wine at a Galilean wedding.
And I find this most fascinating, that the first miracle Jesus ever performed was at a wedding. And that wedding had the same cultural dynamic that Jesus was describing when he was explaining to his disciples about his soon return.
So, to me, anyways, you know, the cup, that vessel, you know, he came down and he had a covenant to bring to everyone, a new covenant. That vessel was him. The wine was his blood that he shed on the cross for us. The promise of his coming the second time. The promise of the bridegroom. I don't know. There's other people that can explain it better. They explain it pretty good in this preview of this movie. I don't know. I had words to try and explain. That's the only words that I have. I you know, I was so worried and you know, and so, I guess, fleshly minded, you know, about this marriage, bridegroom Jesus and us, you know, the bride, and that he's coming back for his bride. He's already made the covenant. He's already spilled the blood, and we are already, if we accept that which he, you know, gave for us, or, you know, if you do not push that cup away, if you take that cup and drink of it, then that covenant is fulfilled, and he can come back for us. I believed so much in the flesh about this teaching. You know, being a man, you know, and somehow I've got to end up being the bride. And it was just all flesh. And I kind of wanted to avoid it. How can you, I don't know. I just realized today that there's no avoiding it. There's no avoiding it. It's just whether you're going to accept it or not. Accept him for what he came down and did for you. He wants to be one with all of us. That's why I get so frustrated when everybody's off with their own doctrine and this way or that way, and oh, I'm not going to talk to you because you believe that. I'm just not part of that anymore. No, I'm taking my steps from the Holy Spirit. I'll go and talk to my brethren. But the minute we start discussing different ideas, well, then it's time not to talk anymore. State your, what you believe. I mean, I don't know how to put it. We are all supposed to be given this of the Holy Spirit and all supposed to be of one. So whether we're early in our walks or later in our walks, and it doesn't matter. We're all going to the same place for the same reason, to do the same things. Don't worry about the rest of this stuff. I know a lot of us have problems with this fear about these things that are happening all around us. But there's nothing to be fearful about it because this is prophecy being fulfilled. It is. I believe that this is a time like no other time, nor other will be. No. Yes, there have been other ages before us, but none like this. We have, the promises of the God of the universe who created everything and anything. To be in covenant, to be in union with him, to dwell with him. It's just awesome. That's the only word I can think of right now. Just awesome. And the rest of it just goes away, man. It does. And he works on the faith, between you and him and the other things, and we all get things a little here, a little there. I mean, like the book says, precept upon precept. I mean, you will get what you need to get when he wants to give it to you, when you're ready. But please, be still. Be still and listen and wait. That doesn't mean do nothing. No, well, we're not to have idle hands either. But we still need to listen and be still. You'll get the answers on his timing, of course. You'll learn patience. With that, everyone, I don't have time to play this other one. I'm going to include the link. Like I said, the other one starts at about 4 hours, 14 minutes, about this lady who talks about what's happening in our schools. I'll leave it at that. That's what I was going to play. But that's at least 30 minutes, and don't have time for that. So don't be stressed out, people. Those, we're having a hard time, just keep praying. I mean, just keep standing, be strong. You can be. You have no idea how strong you are. You have no idea. You can endure much. And the Lord will not give you more than you can endure. That's another awesome promise. You know that he won't give you more than you can handle. So whatever is holding you down, holding you back, taking away your hope, don't let it happen. You can withstand more. Take that. Go pray. Ask. Ask. That's the only way you're going to receive. With that, everyone, please just lift each other up. Just, tell each other that these things, even though we need to know the times and the season, they're just a timeline. It's, you are, once you believe, you are protected. And yes, either way, I mean, not all of us will die, because I guess it's 1 Thessalonians 4 where that also talks about, being taken up in the blink of an eye. Somebody was mentioning that in the prophecy about how long is a blink of an eye? And they got it down to, I guess, a microsecond, which you can't even imagine how quick that is. I can, I'm a computer guy. It's pretty darn quick. I don't even think that you have time to blink. I think it's when you start to blink. Then that's it. those who are alive at that time will be caught up. That will be the first resurrection. Anyways, that's about enough before I start talking, making this a lot longer. God bless you all. Please lift each other up. Go talk to your brothers and sisters. If you haven't heard from them in a while, go check in on them. Go see how they're doing. They're probably crawled up in a corner somewhere, bawling their eyes out. Let them know that you're there whenever they need to talk. All is an email. I mean, be sincere, be receptive, be loving. We all need to learn to love differently. It's not the worldly love that we know. It's the godly love that we can have. Totally different. I will probably be back Wednesday, so I'll see you then. So in the meantime, everyone, many, many, many blessings. Peace out.